Hi, it's Zane with GoPowerSports, and today we're going to be building the EBox Dragster. You're going to need a 10, a 14, 15, and 17 deep dish socket. You're going to need a 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 millimeter Allen key. You're going to need something to cut pieces off to snip. So you can use snips or scissors. You're going to need a blade of some kind for opening up the packaging because they use tape that is laced with adamantium. And you're also going to need 2 wrenches, ratchet preferably. And those are going to be an 8mm and 17mm. But as you can see, this is wrapped up really well. And the way the box is designed makes it look like it's a piece of stereo equipment or some kind of home entertainment system, which is pretty smart because hopefully that means they won't throw it onto your front porch. They'll treat it with the care that it deserves. But first thing you're going to need to do is cut through all of this tape, and you're going to need to snip off these metal shipping bands. So we're going to start on that and then get into the next part, which is unboxing. Okay, so now that we got this thing open, first thing you want to do, take out all the packaging that you don't need, and we can throw it back in the box once we get everything out. You're going to take this box and put it off to the side. And you're going to take this box and put them off to the side. We'll go into what's in these later, but first let's get the bike out. So let's put this bad boy on the stand for now. Let's get out the rest. One tire. Gonna take the seat that's in here, in this cavity. Take the seat, unwrap it, and we're just gonna put it off to the side. That'll be a little mystery tool that'll help us out later. So next, you're gonna remove the decal shields from off of the front fork. So we're gonna go over here, check that out, take off these. So this is where you're gonna wanna have some fingernails. Okay, nice and clear. Next, we'll get this one, and then we're gonna do the same on the other side. There we go. And last one on here. But don't worry, decal fans, you have plenty more stickers that you're gonna remove the covers off of. Okay, boom. There we go. And now we can take all this, chuck it into our trash receptacle. So this is where we're gonna get into opening these boxes. So let me give you a little close-up on these. You have the plate that you're gonna put on the front. You have an owner's manual, handy for figuring out anything if you're a little bit confused along the way. These bolts are gonna come in handy later. Zip ties. Toolkit, but we already brought our own. 2 foot pegs. Might give you a little close up here for you. There we go. Foot peg 1. These are for putting on a plate. Foot peg 2. Now that's what we're looking for right there. Axle, okay? And lastly, here you have covers for the axles as well as 2 fuses that we're going to use for the electrical components. And then everything else can go back in here for now. Now we're going to put this wheel onto the front. For the axle, you're going to need a 14mm deep dish socket. You're also going to need a 17mm socket on the other side, or you can use a wrench just to hold it in place. So as you can see, this is the side that actually has the bracket for attaching your disc brake. So we're going to keep the disc on that side. It's going to slide right up like that. And then all the way through. Okay. There. The 17 millimeter is gonna go over here. Okay. Okay, make sure it spins. Looking good. Now that we've got that on, we're going to attach our brakes. For this, you're gonna need your 4 millimeter Allen. So the tape that they use on this is very tough. So be careful while cutting it. You don't wanna cut any of the lines that you're gonna be working with. And I think they actually, this is a special type of tape that only comes from Wakanda, and it's laced with vibranium. So it's very strong, but it makes it very difficult to get it off. So I'm gonna show you here, you're gonna remove disc brake over here. Good. Snipped. There's the actual brake, free and clear. Now you're gonna want to take out both of these bolts. Make sure we can see that. So these bolts came out of here. And you're gonna wanna remove this right here. There's this little orange spacer. So you remove that. That's where the brake is actually gonna sit on. Let's get this set up. And we can just finger tighten these. Once you know you got them in place. Cool. And then over here, just tighten them up with that 4 mil. One last little tight for good luck. Boom. And boom. There you go. Now, goes right through it, lined up, and we're ready to move on. Next, it's time to attach our handlebar. So the handlebar is over here on the other side. Cut to our other view. So you can see it's zip tied on 1, 2, 3. Okay, and boom. Oh. Okay. Take off this packaging. Once again, just cut the tape in whatever way makes sense. There. Cool. There we go. We have our handlebar right here. So you can tell which side is the throttle. I mean, first you can just test it by doing one of these. If it moves, it's the throttle. But also look for this right here. There's a red button, and that's your on-off switch for power for the vehicle. We're gonna dangle these brakes out front. Let's take off these nuts and washers, and we're gonna throw this on. You're once again gonna be going back to your 17 mil socket. Gonna rest it on my leg so it doesn't move. There. And that. There we go. Finger tight. Same on the other side. Make sure it's nice and flush. Over here, make sure it's flush rather than sitting upright. And then we're just gonna crank that down. Now these are, in the words of Machinist Mike, long-winded. So you're gonna be here for a second, take some time, contemplate nature of life, the universe, and everything. And think about what you're gonna have for lunch or dinner, depending on when you're building this. Maybe think about something that you really regret from your childhood. Just really, you know, get up in there. There. Before you know it, it's done. And you've managed to relive your childhood trauma. Okay. That's really on there. It's good to go. Now that we got our handlebars on, we can install our brake levers. So we're gonna take these, open them up. Your front brake is gonna go on the right-hand side. Your back brake is gonna go onto the left-hand side of the handlebars. But first, snap that tape off. For this, you're going to want your 5mm Allen, and we're gonna take off these bolts here. Careful, there's a lock washer there. We're gonna attach it. Figure out where you want it. I think right about there looks pretty good to me. Put this lock washer on in the middle. Just get that finger tight because you're gonna wanna mess with it, make sure it's lined up where you want it to be. Right about there looks pretty good. There. And then you can see I'm keeping it snug to the handlebar here. And you just tighten it on up. Okay, good. And we'll do the same thing on the other side now. Good, make sure you don't lose anything. Okay, there. And we're just gonna go over like that. Same thing. We're tightening this one up here. Good. Now, one thing you might notice is that if you look at this, the engagement point is really low on this. So it's like you can get almost down to your throttle. Check this side, same thing. So if you want to make it so that the brakes engage sooner, let me show you a little trick. For this, you're going to want your 2mm Allen, and you're going to identify right here. Let me try and show it to you. There, nice macro shot. So that right there, this one. So you're gonna get in there and you're gonna tighten that bad boy down. Okay, and every so often just check and see where it's, there we go. Yeah, there. That's some stopping power now. And the same thing, we're gonna find it over here. Right there. We're gonna get in there and turn it. Get it a little bit tighter. Good, good, good. Let's try again. There we go. Nice. You have your brakes set up on your handlebars now. And I think we're ready to move on to the next step. Connecting and installing all the bits to make sure your electricals are set up. Let me preface this with, when you are working with electricity, always be safe, always be careful, make sure stuff is unplugged. And with that being said, the first thing you're going to do in this step is find this XT60 connector here, this yellow one. Actually, this one's an XT90. And we're gonna take this and disconnect it. And that's just to ensure that we don't get fried. Next thing you're gonna do, go to that bits box. We're gonna find that bag that had the blue fuses in it. So I'm gonna get up close so you can see this. You can see it looks very pretty in the light there. Show it down here as well. Okay, so this fuse right here, that is gonna get installed in this little fuse box. Line it up with these. Boom. Push it in, make sure it's nice and snug. And then you're gonna take this cover, pop it over the top there. We can tuck this whole assembly with the fuse back here into the cavity of the bike, into the body. And then we're gonna reconnect the XT90 connector. Heads up, and it says this in the instruction booklet, and I was told about it beforehand, it's gonna pop when you plug it in. Just be prepped for that. It doesn't mean anything has exploded, nothing's wrong. It's just that when you plug it in, it's gonna make a popping noise. Okay, so we take this, put them together, and pop. That's all. Nothing crazy. Just want everyone to be aware that it's gonna happen so that you don't get freaked out. But that's the electricals. Now you're set to go. And by set to go, I mean that now you can start putting these covers onto your axles. So this one pops on here. 1, 2. Three. And last one, 4. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're coming back to our seat. Now, each of the colorways comes with its own color of seat. I actually really dig this one. It looks kind of like a cup from the 90s. Very bright, vivid blue, neon pink, pretty dope looking. For this, you're gonna take these off right here. We're gonna start at the front, work our way back. No hard and fast rule about this, it's just how my brain works. There we go. So we have the front on, and you're gonna go underneath here and line it up. And when you put it through, you're gonna wanna make sure that there's 2 to 3 threads showing through the back of the nut. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Let me just tighten these guys down. And you do wanna be a little careful when you're tightening these with the ratchet, because you do not want to strip the bolts, which is definitely doable. Now we got those lined up, line up the back. You can see there. Okay. Okay, 1 10mm deep dish going on. And we're just gonna tighten these down for a little while. And just stop periodically, see how much is showing. What I'm talking about, let me see if I can zoom in on. So zooming in, you see how right now there's like 1 thread showing. We want to get a little bit deeper than that. So let's keep going for a sec. There, good. We have 2 to 3 showing on that one. So that's good. You don't want to over tighten these, like I said. We're gonna go around, do the rest of them, and then we can move on to the next step. Looking good. Take a seat. Next, we're gonna be moving on to the foot pegs. And you have 2 options when it comes to the foot pegs on this. You can have what they call sport mode and what they call comfort mode. Comfort mode is up front here. Sport mode is back here. It comes with the hardware necessary to put either one on. You're going to use the longer bolts that come to put it on here for comfort mode. Sport mode, you're going to use the shorter bolts, and they're going to go right here. We have found here at the GoPowerSports studio that sport mode is a little comfier if you are a full-size adult rider. But again, this is personal preference. So as we always say, futz around and find out. Use the scientific method, figure out what works for you. But for our purposes, we're going to be showing you how to install it in the sports setting, which is down here on this thinner bracket. You're going to go in your bag. You're going to find this hardware bag. So inside the hardware bag, you're going to find nuts, bolts. So these are the tall ones that we were talking about. So these are the longer ones for if you were putting it into the comfort mode. These are your shorter for putting it into sport mode. So we're going to take the shorter ones, take our nuts over there, and we are going to put the other ones back into our bag in case we want to use them later. So for these bigger bolts, you're going to need a 6mm Allen key, and you're going to need your 17mm wrench or socket. For this, you're actually going to use a wrench. It's hard to get the socket into the space you're gonna be working with. I'll show you what I mean in a second. And then for the smaller ones, you're gonna want that 3 mil Allen wrench. You're gonna need your 8mm wrench for the nuts. Good. So for the foot pegs, you're going to want to take the bike down off of your stand if you are working on one. You can work on this just on its kickstand, but it's just a little bit easier to give yourself some room when you're doing a lot of the earlier parts. But for putting the foot pegs on, we are going to have to just throw down our kickstand so that we have the room needed to throw these on. So, gonna line this up. Let's put our big bolt through, and we're gonna take our little bolt through there. Now, this one's a little tougher because you're working alongside the motor and the chain. So there's not a ton of space, but just get these finger tight. And now, take this and this. That one's good. Okay, now let's get this little guy done. Good. One side done. Moving on to the other. Gonna do the same thing. Line it up, big bolt through. Littler. Good. Okay, let's tighten them down. Good. Get this. And one last little bit there. Okay. Now you got somewhere to put your feet. Okay, next, we are going to be putting on this number plate to the front of the bike. First thing you're going to want to do, you are going to need your 5mm Allen wrench. But first thing, you're going to need to peel off the sticker cover here. And you just take your time, get your nails in there, and you peel it off nice and easy. There we go. Throw it out. Shiny new plate. We're going to take these guys here, bring it on over. So what you're going to see here, we have the plate going through, and you're going to want to line up this bracket here. You're going to line it up with this orange warning label. So we get this wing nut here. There. Give it the old pinch. Slide that on. Okay. There. Grab our 5mm, and we can tighten it down just a little bit. Keep it nice and safe on there. There we go, and down. Perfect. Let's get the other side. Same thing, through. Line it up with that orange warning label again. And pinch it. Just have a little patience with the process. Get that wing nut on there. Okay. Now we can tighten it up. Okay. Done. And it doesn't need to be super tight. You just want to make sure it's not going to fall off. Okay, get a little resistance. Looking good. So now, this is the hardest part of the entire build. You're going to peel off all of these sticker covers. Doesn't seem like it should be difficult, but it just takes time and patience, especially when you get to the one here on your battery box. You could remove the entire battery if you wanted to. My recommendation You just start at the top, peel down, and you just rip it off nice and clean. And you do the same from the bottom, and you can actually pull out the remains of the sticker that's underneath this bracket here. You can watch as we go through the process. I'll get some close-ups of it, and then we're one step closer to getting this thing out on the road. And this is another good time, if you needed it in your day-to-day practice. Take a second, just really evaluate where you are in life. So when you get down here, you just want to pull straight down so you can get the remains of that one. See? Nice and clean. Whew. Clean. Not as clean. There we go. Don't forget about this one down here. Okay. And onto the battery again. It's times like these that I end up falling into thinking about just the pace of technological advancement that we've seen in our lifetimes. Just in the past century, it was only 50 years apart just about when we got the ability for human beings to achieve flight and then to get onto the moon. And if you think about the leaps and whatever you may think about whether or not we got to the moon, we definitely did send rockets into space, which as inelegant as strapping a pod onto a missile is, the fact that we were able to get people free from the embrace of Earth's gravity, well, I mean, we should be impressed by that, right? I think it's one of those things, we take for granted the magic that exists in our everyday lives, even when that magic sometimes does require us to remove a ton of these never-ending decal covers. But in terms of a modern marvel, this bike is very impressive. Considering that the first mini bikes came about during World War II, the well bikes in Britain, and we here, less than 100 years later, have a vehicle that can get 35 miles per hour off of a 6-hour charge using electricity, something that we had not been able to harness until just toward the tail end of the previous century. Sometimes you got to hand it to humanity, as vain and crass as we can be. Imagination is our superpower, and I can't think of anything more fun and imaginative than finding ways to go fast on two wheels. Almost there. I know there are folks out there who never remove the plastic off of their TV. You could just leave this, but why would you want to hide such nice details? Like, all these decals are really cool. Even the ones on the side of the battery are kind of nice. I like these up here on your forks. So it's worth taking the time to do this and to do it right. Okay, and we're finally done removing all of the stickers, but we weren't, because there are still ones up here on your console area. You're going to be looking at them a considerable amount while riding. There we go. That. And you can see here you have these knobs control your speed right here and your torque, or I think they call it aggression. So aggression and max speed. I would recommend starting with both of these all the way over to the left for the first time you ride it, because once you start going up, this thing rips. It'll take off on you. Another cool feature on this bike is the inclusion of a USB port, so that as they put here, it says phone juice, but you can really plug in anything that utilizes a USB. So if you're someone who films your rides, if you're going to be running an action cam or 360 cam, as some of us around the shop are wont to do, then it gives you another opportunity to charge, but it will deplete your battery, because that's where it's getting all the juice from. but it's a good option so you don't have to carry as many batteries with you. You don't have to stop all the time. So especially if you're just using this to cruise and film a little bit, it's a great option. There we go. And that's where your key goes. Speaking of, now that we've gotten all of them, and I'm going to do a quick double check to make sure we didn't miss any of them. All the stickers are off at this point. So we're going to do our function check. Take your snips, go on over here. So right here we got our, okay. So I'm going to put the keys in, on. You're going to have somewhere around 60% on your battery. So you can just check there. And you're also going to want to check to make sure that it actually runs. So I'm just going to lift it up, make sure it doesn't go anywhere, and click our red switch. Okay, this thing's ready to go. After you charge it for a little while. So since you're only at 60% battery, you're going to want to plug it in, and it's going to take 2 to 3 hours to get this thing up to 100%. You can absolutely start ripping on this as soon as you get it set up, but I'd recommend giving it a full charge, make sure that it can hold it, and then also you have the freedom to ride as far as you want within your battery's distance. You're going to want to take out your charger, which is in the other box that we haven't opened yet. So inside, you're going to have this brick and a power cord. Right here, you'll see you have this port. So you remove that. We're going to connect this wire with the blue piece here. Don't hold the blue piece because you're going to want it to close, and you're going to see that it'll snap shut when you line it up. You can also check inside of there's a little groove. Same thing, there's a groove over here. Groove is in your heart. Just groove everywhere. This locks in. Okay, so now we're going to plug this into a power source and let it charge. You're going to want to check as well right here. You can see it's red. Once it's done charging, that red light is going to turn green. So that's how to put together the EBox Dragster from opening the box until you're ready to ride. Stay tuned. We're going to have more videos showing an overview of the capabilities of this little wheelie machine. And speaking of wheelies, we're also going to have a video showing you how to install the available additional wheelie/drag bar that attaches here and here, but we can talk about that in that video. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Stay fast, stay safe, and as always, ride on.